Ashwagandha might be just what your thyroid needs. Hey there, I'm Dr. Hagmeyer, and in today's video, I'm going to go over some of the benefits of ashwagandha when you have thyroid problems. But I also want you to know that there are some people out there really who should not be taking ashwagandha. So I'm going to be going over that as well, who needs to be really careful about that. Life is full of stress, but when you also struggle with thyroid disease or Hashimoto's disease, one thing you should know is that stress really does take a major toll on your thyroid gland, right? Stress and the hormones produced during stress, namely cortisol and adrenaline, they really have a major impact on thyroid function. In fact, more than 50% of people who have problems with their thyroid also have problems with their adrenal glands, also known as your stress handling glands. So improving your body's ability to adapt to stress is a key factor in really supporting your thyroid naturally, whether you have Hashimoto's or hypothyroidism. Sometimes we just can't escape the damaging effects that stress has on our body, but we almost always can help support our bodies become better adapters, right? Better adaptation. So under an episode of stress, your adrenal glands make a hormone, like I said, called cortisol, and high levels of cortisol really have been shown to affect your TSH levels, or your thyroid stimulating hormone levels. TSH is the hormone made by the brain that instructs the thyroid gland to make those hormones T3 and T4. Now, stress, cortisol and adrenaline really can affect your TSH levels and in turn, your thyroid hormones. But that's not all stress does. High stress levels can really also cause inflammation throughout the body. When you're inflamed for whatever reason, your thyroid hormones can't bind to the thyroid receptors. And this is one of the reasons you may have many thyroid symptoms, but your doctor, when he or she reads your thyroid blood work, says that your thyroid is fine. There's nothing wrong. Well, start thinking about it like this. There are receptors, and receptors are like the locks on your front door. And your thyroid hormone are really designed to fit into those locks. You have specific locks for T3, and you have specific locks for T4. Those are the thyroid hormones that we're talking about. Well, when thyroid hormones can't bind to those thyroid receptors, again, when the right key doesn't fit into the right lock, you experience hypothyroid symptoms. Now, many people suffering for years with low thyroid symptoms, but every time they complain to their doctor just tells them that they have normal thyroid hormone levels, that their blood work shows that they have plenty of thyroid hormones. The problem is that it's just not working with the lock, right? For those people, it's the receptor that's the problem, not the actual thyroid hormone levels. Now, high stress can also raise another thyroid hormone. Actually, it's a thyroid metabolite. It's called reverse T3. And under chronic stress, your body will begin converting T4 into reverse T3 hormone. And this is another problem for the thyroid because reverse T3 is not always able to work the way T3 thyroid hormones work. So when you have high levels of reverse T3, you often will have low levels of T3 thyroid hormone. So right about now, you're probably getting the idea that stress and high cortisol, high levels of adrenaline, this is really not a good thing for the thyroid gland, and you'd be 100% right. But what does this have to do with actually ashwagandha? Well, if you're suddenly experiencing anxiety when you've never had it before, it may be due to thyroid disease, right? On the same side, if you've been already diagnosed with hypo or hyperthyroidism, don't be surprised if you begin experiencing or having bouts of anxiety. And so while anxiety is often thought of solely as a mental health disorder, mental health disease, when it comes on suddenly without any history of anxiety, it can be caused by hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's disease. And ashwagandha might be something that can help. You see, ashwagandha is considered an adrenal adaptogen, meaning it helps your body manage stress. It's also used to combat aging, strengthen and build muscle and neurological disorders, support your GABA levels, and many people who have very painful rheumatoid arthritis find ashwagandha to be very, very helpful. Now here's a study I came across, and this was an 8-week study where they took 50 people with hypothyroidism. They put them on a daily regimen of ashwagandha, and what they found is that daily ashwagandha led to significant improvements in thyroid hormone levels compared to taking placebo. Now, as far as thyroid hormone levels go, those in the ashwagandha group showed significant 41.5% increase in T3 levels and almost a 20% improvement in T4 levels. In the same study, TSH levels came down by about 18%. Now keep in mind that taking ashwagandha is not something you would want to do if you had hyperthyroidism or you were in, let's say, a Hashimoto's flare-up and you're leaning towards hyperthyroidism. Now, another study looked at cortisol levels and T3 and T4 levels, and that study showed that chronic stress leads to an increase in cortisol levels. but lowered levels of T3 and T4. Well, in this study, the researchers concluded that ashwagandha appeared to stimulate the endocrine system, boosting thyroid hormone levels by reducing high levels of cortisol. Now, ashwagandha has also been shown to help with anxiety through its influence on one of the most important calming neurotransmitters in our body, namely GABA. GABA is produced in the brain in an effort to really minimize the damaging effects of excess glutamate, right? Too much glutamate, nerve cells cause nerve cells to die, and GABA puts the brakes on glutamate, which is why it can help with the symptoms of excess glutamate. Now, a 2015 study in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology showed that ashwagandha naturally supports the body's healthy production of GABA. And that again has a calming effect on the brain. It doesn't sedate the brain, doesn't slow down brain function, but instead it enhances cognitive performance. So when it comes to thyroid function in ashwagandha, you need to remember that while ashwagandha may be very, very helpful to thyroid patients that have low T3, low T4, and high cortisol, ashwagandha can increase your T3 levels and T4 levels. And that's great if your T3 and T4 levels are low, but what if your levels are normal or if they're running a little bit high, as in patients with Hashimoto's? In this situation, if you took ashwagandha, you could cause thyroid toxicosis. And that can be something that causes you to end up in the emergency room. And for this reason, I would always advise, getting your thyroid hormone levels tested, getting your cortisol levels tested before you go rushing out and start taking ashwagandha. Again, while this is a rare occurrence, traditional medicine loves to point this out, loves to jump all over it, but I think it really shows how effective ashwagandha is, especially when it's used in the right circumstance for the right person. So what else should you know about ashwagandha? Well, when it comes to the thyroid, ashwagandha can be very helpful for chronic inflammation. Now, inflammation is your thyroid's worst enemy. Inflammation does a lot of damage to the body and a lot of damage to the thyroid. You see, inflammation really is your thyroid's worst enemy. Now, when you have thyroid inflammation or Hashimoto's disease, or high cortisol levels for that matter, your body is in a breakdown state. It's in a state of catabolism. And this is often accompanied by lots of inflammation. It's a cycle. So remember what I said earlier about stress and reverse T3 levels. I said that stress or high cortisol levels, high levels of adrenaline, can actually increase reverse T3 levels. But that's not the only thing that increases reverse T3. Inflammation, it turns out, can also cause an increase in reverse T3 levels. And when reverse T3 increases, again, it's going to put you in a state of low T3. So you're going to feel hypothyroid, you're going to feel inflammation, and that's going to impair thyroid hormone production. Again, inflammation is damaging the thyroid, and it also affects your thyroid receptors. Ashwagandha helps with inflammation, which in turn has been shown to help lower high cortisol levels and lower high levels of reverse T3. Now, mitochondrial dysfunction is a common occurrence in people with thyroid disease and Hashimoto's as well. Mitochondria are the energy powerhouses, the furnaces inside your cells. And problems with mitochondria cause constant fatigue, chronic pain, brain fog, and many other problems. But when it comes to ashwagandha and mitochondria, again, ashwagandha helps protect your cell membranes. That's the outer protective barrier of the cell from something known as lipid peroxidation. This is a conversation I have with patients all the time. Think of your cells like green apples, and where that green skin is the cell membrane and the apple seeds are the mitochondria. Well, mitochondria are very sensitive to oxidative stress and free radical damage, and cell membranes are very sensitive to lipid peroxidation. Now, under oxidative stress and lipid peroxidation, those free radicals are really trying to damage the skin of the apple, the cell membrane. And those free radicals are also trying to get inside the apple and damage your mitochondria. Now, due to its antioxidant properties, ashwagandha has been shown to minimize this lipid peroxidation and oxidative stress, which in turn protects the mitochondria. So if you want more energy, less brain fog, better focus, better clarity, and you need to improve your mitochondrial health, and you also need to improve the health of your immune system. Again, for those of you who have been diagnosed with hypothyroidism, again, which is the #1 cause of hypothyroidism, underlying an autoimmune disease that you've probably heard of called Hashimoto's disease. But if you have Hashimoto's, your problem is an immune system problem. It's not a thyroid problem. The end result is a problem with the thyroid, but with Hashimoto's, again, your immune system is attacking and it's destroying the thyroid gland, and so you end up being hypothyroid once the damage is done. If you've never been tested for this, you absolutely need to get your thyroid level antibodies tested. But the point is that it's an immune system problem. Again, ashwagandha has been shown to increase white blood cell counts, improving your body's first line of defense against those foreign intruders. And that's incredibly important when you have Hashimoto's. One of the top complaints in my patients with thyroid disease, outside of fatigue and weight gain, of course, is brain fog and memory problems. Here again, ashwagandha has been shown to be very, very helpful in supporting and improving memory and cognitive function. Now, if we look at this study, this was a double-blind, placebo-controlled study. 20 healthy adults were, again, randomized to receive 250 milligrams of ashwagandha twice a day for 14 days. And after a battery of cognitive tests, the researchers concluded that the group that took the ashwagandha saw a significant improvement in cognitive psychomotor performance compared to the control group. Again, they found that ashwagandha has the potential to be a very, very valuable addition to the treatment of cognitive function issues. So instead of living on coffee or caffeine and soda, try and improve mental clarity, concentration, and focus. You may want to consider ashwagandha for that brain fog. So there you go. I hope you learned a few new things today, but keep in mind, while ashwagandha seems like a magic bullet for people with thyroid disease, it's not for everyone. So if you're going to take ashwagandha, again, be sure to get your cortisol levels checked, be sure to get your thyroid hormone levels checked. And if you begin to experience the symptoms of hyperthyroidism, now you know why. Now, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments section below. If you have questions about working with my clinic through our virtual telehealth program, you can find out more information by visiting my website. And if you like this video, there's another video that I think you're really going to like, and you can check that out right here.